So person means like they have a consciousness. Anyone who has a continuum of consciousness is a person. So that includes Buddhas and also sentient beings. So persons includes both Buddha persons and sentient beings. Fully enlightened persons and also non-enlightened persons. So persons is the biggest group. Then within persons, there are sentient beings and enlightened beings. Right? So sentient being means someone with, a person who's not enlightened. Right? Whereas whereas a Buddha, so the only other kind of person who's not enlightened, the only kind of person who's not a sentient being is a Buddha person. Like Shakyamuni Buddha, or like Dalai Lama, Buddha persons. Whereas everybody else is a sentient being. So then within sentient beings, there are Arya beings and ordinary beings. And every sentient being is included in those two groups. Either Arya being or ordinary being. Okay? So ordinary, Arya being, like I was explaining, means, well, Arya means superior, right? Yeah? Aryas. So Arya being, they're called superior because their perception of the truth is superior to that of others. Superior to that of an ordinary being. Because they have direct experience of the truth with their mind rather than just a conceptual knowledge. They have direct knowledge, experiential knowledge, versus conceptual knowledge of the ultimate truth. So that's why they're called superiors.
Does it mean alpha?
Alpha? Like best?
Like alpha beings?
It doesn't mean alpha beings? I don't know what you mean by alpha beings. What's the definition of alpha beings?
It's like an alpha wolf, in a wolf pack. They're dominant.
They're dominant. No, doesn't really. No. Just means the best. It's not that they're like the leader of a pack or something like that, or they're like, yeah, they're not in conflict, or they're not leading, others or something like that. Arya, Arya. Come on, India is the land of the Aryas. You guys know Arya.
It has heavy connotations, the word.
Yeah.
Times. So
I know. The Nazis also used it, no? They want to, what is it? Promote the Aryan race. No, not like that. Not like a racist kind of thing, or like any. There's no religious overtone either. It just means it's just about the truth. It's about the way you understand the depth of your knowledge of the truth. For an Arya being, it's something direct and experiential. So therefore, it's superior to someone whose knowledge of the truth is merely conceptual and intellectual, let's say. So within sentient beings, they're all included in ordinary beings or Arya beings. But then, what do you think? Is the Buddha an Arya being?
No.
Yeah.
Enlightened.
Huh?
Enlightened.
Yeah, the Buddha's enlightened, of course, but is he an Arya being or not? No, he is an Arya being. Why? Because he directly, the Buddha is not male, right? It's beyond like male and female, but there can be female aspect, male aspect. But a Buddha is they directly realize the truth. So therefore they're an Arya being. Yeah. Papa. Yeah, they're an Arya being. Okay, so does that answer your question?
And samsaric being?
Oh yeah, samsaric being, yeah, okay. So there's another one. Samsaric being means someone who's still, when they die, they take rebirth through the force of afflictive emotions and karma. So they're not yet liberated from samsara. So how does that overlay with the other ones? Samsara. Hold on. In Tibetan, is there even samsara? Khor, yeah. Khorapa. So samsaric beings. Basically, samsaric beings is one meaning with, or synonymous with, ordinary being. All ordinary beings are samsaric beings.
How is a samsaric being different from a sentient?
Because I said, sentient being, remember, I started with persons. Within persons, there's two groups. Enlightened persons and non-enlightened persons. All the non-enlightened persons are sentient beings. Yeah. So then within sentient beings, there's again two groups: Arya beings and ordinary beings. Right? So sentient beings just means they're a person and they're not a Buddha.
But then doesn't this go against what you just spoke right now about Buddha being an Arya being?
How?
Because you just categorized everything into enlightened and non-enlightened. In non-enlightened, you subdivided them
Yeah. Very good. Very good comment. Yeah. So another way you can divide all persons into Arya persons and ordinary persons. Right? You could do it like that. And then you could divide Arya persons into enlightened Arya persons and non-enlightened Arya persons. Yeah, you can also do it like that. Yeah, you're right. There was a little bit of a
Venerable samsaric beings, Aryas can also be samsaric beings if they are not arhats.
Well, is it? Well, Arya beings, they don't take rebirth through the force of afflictive emotions and karma.
But they are in samsara, right?
They're in samsara, yeah. They're in samsara. Yeah, there's some debate there. Because Arya beings, their continuum is not under the control of afflictive emotions and karma because they've directly realized ultimate truth. So it's like their wisdom is more powerful than their ignorance, right? So when they die, they take rebirth through the force of prayers and through the force of merit and through the force of their wisdom and other positive states of mind. They don't take rebirth through the force of afflictive emotions. But they're still in samsara. They're not foe destroyers, which is liberated from samsara. Arhat. Yeah, arhat. Arhat means foe destroyer. So foe destroyer is something more. It means you've achieved nirvana. Right? You're free from samsara. So yeah, I mean the Arya beings who are on the path, they're still in samsara. But if you call them samsaric beings or not is a little, there's some room for disagreement there. Yeah. I would tend to say no, don't call them. But they're not free from samsara. Okay? Does that answer your question? The answers to one question lead to more questions. That's the problem. But that's okay. That's good. It's a good problem. Other questions? Is there no other urgent questions? I want to make sure we do some meditation, because last time I just spent all the time explaining the text and I didn't do any meditation. And because this is part of a course of which one of the components is meditation at home, then if we don't do meditation together here, then it'll make it difficult to do at home, because you don't know what to do exactly. So, let's spend some time doing some meditation. So first I just want to do a very simple guided meditation. So simple means I don't really guide very much. I just tell you what to do at the beginning and we try to do it. Simple meditation on impermanence, right? Because, emptiness, understanding emptiness well is something difficult, right? It's kind of like, I don't know, what's the most difficult dish to make in Indian cooking? What's a very difficult dish to
depends
make?
on the regional cuisine.
Is it biryani? Someone was telling me yesterday biryani is very difficult to
I
make.
think it depends on the regional cuisine as well. As in like different states
So
have
just
different
pick one, any region you like. I just need help making an analogy, that's all. Anyway, I can take a Western one, but then I want to play. What's a very difficult dish to make? Only the most skilled, kind of cook, chef
Sweets are
can.
usually more difficult.
Sweets.
Are more difficult.
Like, what's the most difficult sweet to make? What?
The South Indian
Some
ones
puppy.
won't use
That very fibrous, crispy one.
Stringy thing.
Yeah.
It's a very stringy sweet.
But it's hard and dry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, son papi. That looks very difficult to make. So, if you're going to know how to make son papi, first, Papan?
Son papi.
Son papi.
Papdi. P-A-P-D-I.
Paddi.
Papdi.
Pabdi.
Yeah.
Okay. P-A-P-D-I. Pabdi. Okay. Son Pabdi. So if you're going to learn how to make that, first you have to learn how to make other things first. First you have to know how to like boil milk without burning it, right? Something like that. So like that. If you're going to know how to learn how to meditate on emptiness correctly, you have to learn how to meditate on other more simple things first. So a good place to start is impermanence. So that's why we want to meditate on impermanence. So what does it mean to be impermanent? What does it mean that something's impermanent?
It's changing.
Yeah, it's changing all the time, momentarily changing. So, what are things that are impermanent?
Everything which is dependent on
Functional
causes.
things.
Well, you could say everything that exists and is not permanent. That's kind of a tricky answer. But yeah, functioning things. So all the material things, all physical things that exist, are they all impermanent? Are they all changing?
Yeah.
Moment by moment? Yes. What about our consciousness, mind?
Yeah.
Is it all changing moment by moment? Yes. What about like persons?
Changing.
Yeah, also changing moment by moment. What about impermanence itself? That one's difficult. Actually, we say yes, but there's a lot of room for debate there, but we would say yes. Impermanence itself is something changing moment by moment. But yeah, that's a little tricky. But you don't need to worry about that now. Mainly, we just want to get it. So when we meditate on permanence, we want to think about what does it mean to be impermanent, and what is that? What things are impermanent? What does it mean that they are permanent? And what does that entail? Like what other conclusions can we draw as a result of that observation, right? So first of all, what things are impermanent? Everything that's physical, all matter, everything that's based on matter. All instances of consciousness are mind. And persons who are labeled upon this collection of body and mind. Right? So we say, actually there's a broader class called non-associated compositional factors. But basically it means things which are impermanent and they're not physical and they're not mental, like us, persons. We're not physical, we're not mental. We have a body, we have a mind, but we are not our body, we are not our mind. So we're not something physical, we're not something mental, but yet we exist and we're changing all the time. We're impermanent. So, okay, so one is impermanent means that which is momentarily changing. So, like, how do we know that things are changing?
You can see it.
Yeah, like what can you see?
A person aging, you can see himself aging.
Yeah, but can you see it like over 1 hour?
No.
No, you can't. But you can see it over like a year, 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like sound is easier, no?
Yeah.
In sound, we can see it changing, in split seconds. Like that truck just went by. Within less than a second, we can know that sound is changing. Sound is actually, if you're meditating on impermanence, sound is one of the best things to think about, because it's very easy to see how it's changing continually, without a pause. Also, the Buddha said in some sutras, to meditate on impermanence, it's helpful to sit by water, to look at bodies of water, to look at lakes and rivers. Or when you watch the rain, you see a raindrop falling, you can see it's changing location, like moment by moment. But why water? Because unlike the earth, something that's not liquid but it's solid, like we look at the floor of the room, it doesn't look like it's changing. It looks like it's just staying still. But yet, we can use reason to know it's changing. And just similarly the earth, when we're outside we look at the ground, it looks like, every day we come, it's just the same shape. It's laying in the same way. It's still there. So it's difficult to see it changing. Whereas you look at the water, if you've ever been by, a lake or the ocean, you look at the surface of the water, it's continually moving. That's very obvious. It's continually changing. But actually, the things that look solid, like the pillar, the table, the ground, the floor here, the earth, we can know that they are continually changing. Like, how do we know that?
The structure of the atom itself.
Yeah, if we know about atomic structure, especially if we've seen through like an electron microscope, that's best. I don't do electron microscopes. Can they
Yes.
resolve to that small scale? Yeah. If you've seen best, but if you know if you know that, yeah, they're based on smaller molecules of which are made up of protons and neutrons and atoms, and they're rotating all the time, they're moving all the time, then you know it's changing. But what's another way? Like, how do we know someone's, like, we can say we know people are changing because we see them aging. But does that mean that they're aging all the time? Yeah. Are they aging every moment? Are we aging
Because it
every
can't
moment?
suddenly happen.
No, we can't see it happening every moment. But we can see it over like a year.
No, but it's not necessarily aging.
Right.
It's change.
Right.
Well, it's in a state of flux.
Okay, yeah, that's the important thing, is change. But how can we know if we can see like changes over a year? Then does that mean changes are happening in less than a year, in each month, or each day, or each hour, each minute?
Each microsecond.
Yeah, it's kind of like this. Yeah, it's kind of like the same, because if there weren't individual particles, like atoms, then if those didn't exist, then we wouldn't be able to put a bunch of those together and get a larger object. Like it requires smaller parts to make a larger part that we can see. Like, you know, if we look at the glass, we can't see the individual molecules of glass, and we can't see the atoms, of course. But yet, if those didn't exist, those smaller parts didn't exist, then you couldn't have the bigger part on the macro scale that you can see. So similarly, in terms of change on a large scale, over a year or a month or an hour, is made up of very small units of change. You know, like when we look at the clouds in the sky, it's kind of hard to see them changing. I mean, depending on the different kinds of clouds, but it's a little hard to see them changing every moment. Or a flower even, you know, like a flower blooms in your yard in the morning, and then by the evening it's wilted. But if you sit there and stare at it, it's difficult to see it changing. But you can know by reason that over like one day, if there's change that I can see from the morning to the evening, that's very gross change. But that has to be made up of smaller units of change. If there weren't those smaller units of change in increments of, you know, split seconds, then you couldn't have the change over a long time. Just like, and if you want to have the duration of an hour, you have to have the duration of seconds and split seconds within that to make up that duration of an hour. So it's through that kind of reasoning that we can infer that actually things which are impermanent, things which we can see their gross change over a long time, they have to be changing every moment. Because if another helpful way to think is about the opposite. What if there was one moment when they didn't change? When they were unchanging? Then it's like they would be stuck. You know, if there was a flower and it bloomed, and then for one moment it was not changing. I mean, it's difficult to think about because it's so counterintuitive, and it's not something we usually think about. But for one moment, if something wasn't changing, then it wouldn't change at all anymore. It would be fixed. So things don't switch from being permanent to impermanent and impermanent to permanent. They don't go back and forth. They're either one or the other. If they're impermanent, it means they're changing all the time without even a moment of permanence. But the important thing for us to think about is, yeah, what does it mean to be impermanent? It means, well, first of all, like as I said, what things are impermanent? Then what does it mean that those things are impermanent? Right? And think about take some specific objects. You can take any object, you know, a physical object or an instance of particular awareness, a consciousness, or a thought, or you can just look at your thoughts, look at your body, look at external physical things in the external environment. You can look at your whole self as a person or other persons. Think about many different things. There's no kind of limit. Think about water, think about sound, think about, you know, clouds or flowers or whatever. But think about, okay, what are all the different things that are impermanent? Then pick some individual ones and try to think, well, what does it mean that they're impermanent? What does it mean that they're changing, continually changing? How do I know that they're continually changing? What does it mean to continually change? And then here's the real clincher. Think about, if you're thinking about something and how it's continually changing, then where is that thing? How do you identify? Like if I I was talking about the glass. Like if I think about the glass, it's continually changing. Then like, like, if it's continually changing, it means every moment is different than the previous moment. You know, change means there's a difference between the past and the future. Time comes into it, right? So change means that something has changed means it's different than it was before, right? If a person changes, it means that they're somehow different than they were before. If they're not different than they were before in any way whatsoever, then they haven't changed, right? Yes.
Change could be due to position.
Change can be a
Change could be due to position, and change could be due to time.
due to position and time.
Position and time.
Yeah. But yeah, that's true.
We can't perceive the change in position, but definitely there is every moment there is a change in position for every being,
Yeah.
whether living, non-living,
Yeah. Why?
because of the motion of
Of the planet and of the cosmos, and of the galaxy.
galaxy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But can you change? Can something change in position and not change in time? No.
No.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah.
Both will change.
Yeah, both will change.
Both will change.
Yeah, both will change. Yeah. So that's fine. If something's changing, it has to be changing in time, and yeah, it's also changing in position, I think. But there could be some exception, maybe. But where was I?
Impermanence.
No. So the thing. So I was saying that for something to change means it's different than it was before, right? So then, where is the actual thing? That becomes a question. That question I'm not going to answer. This is for you to think about. Like every moment the glass is changing. So it means there's this previous moment of this glass, a subsequent moment of the glass. But yet we have this one general idea, this glass, which covers all of those moments, right? That's why this glass exists through many days and many months, hopefully. But every moment is different. So if you try to be precise and say, well, this is the actual glass, how do you pinpoint it? Because it's changing all the time. Or, I mean, if you could think about it in the same way with regard to yourself. Like, we all feel like, I've been alive, you know, for so many years. I was born here, I grew up here, now I'm here, and all that is me, right? But it's another case where we're giving one label to a whole group of, like, instances of us. A whole group of phenomena is like, because each moment that we exist is different than the moment before. But because the later moments are similar to the previous moments, then we group them together as the part of one continuum, which they are. They're part of one continuum. But every moment is different. And yet we grasp at it all as being the same. There's me. So where exactly are, how do you pinpoint the individual me or the individual glass in that group of, moments changing through time? And that's a question. So, but you see how to build up to looking at this question? First, think about what are the things that are impermanent? What does it mean to be impermanent? That they're changing continually. How do I know that they're changing? On the macro scale, it's easy to see, but how do I know they're changing on the micro scale? Think about and think about the things that's easy to see the change: water, sound, clouds. How do I know they're changing on the micro scale? And then what does that mean? Like, what does that mean about that object? How do you precisely identify one object in the midst of this continual change? See? Okay, so let's take a few deep breaths, relax, and get comfortable in your meditation posture. So we'll meditate for about 15 minutes. So, yeah, take a few deep breaths, relax, sit comfortably. Just watch your breath for a few minutes. Focus your attention inwards. So then generate the intention to think I'll meditate on impermanence now for the next 15 minutes. So make that clear in your mind. So then if you see your mind wandering off, thinking about something else, then recognize that as a distraction. So then let's begin by thinking about all the different things in the world that are impermanent. So then think about what does it mean for those things to be impermanent? Remember, impermanence means it's momentarily changing, or changing moment by moment, or continually changing. So how do you know things are changing? What does it mean to change? First of all, how do you know things are changing? How can you tell? So then, in addition to change, we can see over long term. How do you know that things are changing every moment? Our question is like, is there things that are impermanent that are changing? Is there ever a pause in their change, or is it the case that they change every moment, unceasingly, even the smallest or the shortest possible moment? Like a 100,000, a millionth of a second. On the smallest possible scale, is it the case that things are continually changing, or is it possible for them to stop changing at any moment and then continue later? So then if things are changing moment by moment on the smallest scale, then what does that mean about those things themselves? Which, like, yeah, some of the examples I spoke about earlier, looking at oneself as a person, thinking how we've existed from several years prior to the present. And each of those moments of existence are instances of us, but none of those are the us that has existed over that whole continuum of several years. So where exactly are we? Which can you pinpoint exactly, like in that continuum? None of the instances in the past or the present or the future are us. Then where exactly are we? How exactly do we exist? So the same thing in relation to any other impermanent object. Like precisely where is the object? Not in relation to other objects, but in relation to that continuum of change. That continuum of changing phenomena through subsequent moments. How does that affect our ability to precisely point to something and say, this is that object? When, the past moments are already gone, the present moments in the present are continually changing without cease. So try to analyze those kind of questions. So relax there. So, this is the homework for next session, is to do this meditation several times again. If you want to get credit for completing this module of the Heart Sutra, then you need to do at least 2 or 3 hours of meditation a week. So until the next class, then you can do this kind of meditation all day. things being impermanent, and especially the last question, like what does that say about how the things exist? Where precisely can you pinpoint an individual thing in its continuum of change, right? Like the continuum of change, most of it, like for us now, the present moment is something very narrow, right? The future is much longer, the past is much longer. The present moment is something very finite. And it's changing all the time. I mean, the present, as soon as we say the present moment, it's already something different, it's already past. Just like a river flowing, you know, it's like, so what does that mean about, well, we don't exist in the past, we don't exist in the future, we exist only in the present, but then the present, like, where is the present? It's always changing. So, I mean, it's a similar question, like, where exactly is something in this continuum of change? It's an important question. So try to think about it in meditation. So, okay, are there any questions? At this point? Did the meditation go okay? I mean, did you find something interesting? It's interesting. It shouldn't be boring. Meditation should be interesting. It shouldn't be like pulling your teeth or, I don't know, washing dishes or something. It should be kind of, yeah, think about things. Be curious. Yeah, ask questions. Try to see what are potential answers to the questions. It's good if you get more doubts during your meditation. That's a very good sign. You get more questions. Okay. I mean, if there's no questions, then I think I'll conclude here. It's not really early today. It's a little past 12:30 now. So, yeah, I don't want to explain. I'll explain more if there's more to explain in the text, but we can leave it till next time. No, you need to go through. So then we'll conclude with some dedication prayers. Which prayers shall we do today? Let's do on page 246 from the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. On page 246. There's some verses from the dedication chapter of the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. Yeah. Okay. So think about all the merit we've created from the beginning of the session until now. All the merit created by all the other sentient beings in the universe, especially his own spiritual teachers and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, all the Arya beings, all the sentient beings, all the ordinary beings. And rejoice, thinking how wonderful it is. So many people do very positive things, create merit. And how wonderful it is. People help each other, people work to relieve suffering, bring about peace, well-being. People doing things out of altruistic motivation, selfless motivation. So then thinking of all this positive energy collected together. Why don't we read these verses first? May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and doshy strengths. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And then someone requested that we especially dedicate for their father who passed away in 2009 on this day. So his name is Shiroi Daruvala. So the Shiroi Daruvala passed away on this day, in 2009. May he quickly find a precious human rebirth and meet with the... May he and all sentient beings who passed away, especially those who died recently, may they all quickly take a precious human rebirth and in most conducive circumstances for developing all of their potential for liberation and full enlightenment. Especially all the beings existing in the lower realms, as hells, hungry beings, animals, may they quickly pass, may their karma to exist in that realm quickly be extinguished or quickly be exhausted, and may they take rebirth in one of the upper realms, and again meet a qualified Mahayana guru and develop all the realizations of the path of enlightenment. Especially may the Buddha Dharma continue to flourish and spread in all directions, and may all our gurus and spiritual friends have long, stable lives. Especially may Choe Ling, this Dharma Center, may it continue to flourish, and may all those who come to hear, see, think about, support, volunteer for, or related to Choe Ling in any way, whether they criticize or praise, may they be free from every form of suffering and have every happiness up to full enlightenment. And especially may all the world's problems, violent conflict between countries, disease, natural disasters, and global warming, pollution of the environment, may we find solutions to all those problems and make the world a wonderful place to live for future generations. And especially may all beings have loving kindness in their hearts for one another and live in harmony. And if you have any other special dedications you'd like to add, then bring those to mind. So may all of your prayers also be accomplished exactly in accordance with your virtuous aspirations. Okay. So that concludes the session today. And thank you all for your participation.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So, Shanti, when is the next installment in this Heart Sutra module?
We're having a group discussion on Sunday, 1st of July. And then it's likely to be around the 14th of July.
Okay. With Venerable
14th, 15th or 16th of July.
With Venerable Nanda.
Yes, with Venerable Nanda. It's not confirmed,
Okay.
but it's likely to be.
Okay. And next weekend, is there any program?
Next weekend, no Venerable is here, and then Venerable Ratila on 6th July weekend.
Is there any program next